The mining colony on K-47B was not a place for dreamers. It was a place of dust, metal, and tired faces. The air always smelled faintly of oil and the sharp tang of recycled oxygen. Beyond the protective dome, the planet was a flat wasteland under a dim red sun, where storms of fine grit could peel the paint from steel in hours. For 14-year-old Alara Quinn, the colony was more than just rough. It was a place that didn't want her. She had no father. Her mother worked long shifts in the ore processing plant and barely had energy to speak when she came home. The other kids on the colony thought Alara was strange. She liked machines more than people, and she spent hours picking through the scrapyard instead of playing colony games. If anyone noticed her at all, it was usually to tell her to get out of the way. That was fine with Alara. The scrapyard was better than the colony's school halls or the mess hall chatter. Out there, she could pretend she wasn't just a useless kid. Out there, she could fix things. The day she found it. It was late in the colony afternoon, the red sun sinking low enough to cast long, sharp shadows across the jagged piles of discarded hulls. Alara balanced on a beam, her boots crunching lightly, on rust flakes as she looked for her next find. She had a small satchel slung over her shoulder with tools she had either borrowed from the maintenance crew or made herself from scrap. A half-broken energy spanner, a mini welder that worked, half the time. A hand crank light. Then she saw it. Half buried at the far edge of the scrapyard, beyond where most people bothered to search, a curved shape broke the surface of the dust. Unlike the rusted human-built ships around it, this one had no visible bolts or seams. Its surface was smooth, like glass, but with a strange pattern, like overlapping scales. She slid down the slope of metal debris, boots skidding. Her hand brushed against the surface, and she felt warmth. Machines in the scrapyard were always cold, dead. But this wasn't dead. Her heart beat faster. Not in the archives, Alara knew most ship designs from memory. In the colony's archives, she had studied every diagram and model she could find. But this was nothing like them. She walked around what was visible, brushing away layers of dust. There was no nameplate, no serial number, no cargo hatches or gun ports, just a seamless hull with the faintest trace of blue light pulsing beneath the surface, as if the metal itself were breathing. It wasn't large, smaller than a mining hauler, but something about it made her think of strength, of hidden power. Her mind whispered, alien. Nobody on the colony had ever seen an alien ship. There were rumors of contact in the inner systems, but on K-47B the only ships that came and went were corporate supply freighters and mining shuttles. A decision. She should have told someone. She should have reported it to the colony security office. But she didn't. If she told the adults, they would push her aside, fence off the area, and she'd never see it again. She could already hear them. Good find, kid. Now run along while the real engineers work. No. This would be hers. It was foolish. She knew that. But as she crouched beside the strange hull, tracing the scale-like patterns with her fingers, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. Like the world had opened a small door, just for her. The first fix over the next few days. She made the long walk to the far edge of the scrapyard every chance she got. She started digging away the dust around the hull with a piece of old plating as a shovel. Beneath the grit, the alien surface gleamed faintly, catching the dim light of the sun. She found what looked like a thin seam, barely wide enough to fit a screwdriver's edge. After hours of work, she managed to pry it open. Inside, she expected to see tangle of wires or pipes. Instead, she saw crystal-like rods glowing faintly in pale green. They hummed when she touched them, a gentle vibration she could feel through her fingertips. Some were cracked, others flickered like dying lights. In human machines, she would have just replaced the broken parts, but she didn't have alien spares, so she improvised. She wrapped broken rods with salvaged conductive filament from an old power relay. She wedged bits of heat-resistant glass where crystals were missing. It was clumsy work, but something happened. The glow in the rods steadied, just a little, and deep inside the hull, the hum grew stronger. A strange companion, by the fourth day, the ship began to change. It wasn't obvious at first, just a soft blue ripple running along its scales when she touched it. Then panels shifted slightly as though stretching after a long sleep. Once she thought she heard a sound, almost like a sigh. "Are you alive?" she whispered. The ship didn't answer, but when she brushed away more dust, she noticed the surface seemed warmer near where she had worked, as though responding to her presence. For some reason, that made her smile. Unseen watchers, Alara, didn't know it, but her work had already been noticed, just not by the colony. Far beyond K-47B, a deep space transceiver picked up a faint signal. It was one that had been silent for decades. A signal that belonged to a vessel long thought destroyed in battle. The signal traveled through relay after relay, finally reaching a lone dragon-like alien drifting in his damaged personal craft. His name was Karash, and when he heard the signal, his golden eyes widened. Back on K-47B on the seventh day, Ilara managed to pry open what she thought was a side hatch. Instead of opening outward, the hull seemed to melt, reshaping itself into an entrance. She stepped inside without hesitation. The interior was unlike anything she had seen. Smooth walls with shifting patterns of light. No chairs, no control panels, just strange ridges and crystal formations. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sharp, almost metallic. She set her satchel down and started exploring, her footsteps echoing softly. The more she saw, the more she wanted to know. A choice. Made in secret, she knew deep down that if she was caught, the colony would take this ship away from her. They would strip it for parts, or worse, sell it to the highest bidder. So she worked in secret. She came early in the morning before the scrapyard guards made their rounds. She left late, pretending she had just been exploring harmless piles of junk. Every day the ship responded more. Panels lit up when she passed. Some interior lights now followed her movement, and every night she lay in bed thinking of what she would fix next. The first pulse on the 10th day, something new happened as she was reconnecting a cluster of cracked crystals. A sudden pulse of blue light flashed through the hull, racing in every direction. The hum became a deep, steady thrum. She froze, her heart pounding. Then, in a voice that was more felt than heard, a single word formed in her mind. "Awake." She stumbled back, eyes wide. "What? You can talk?" she whispered. The ship didn't answer again, but the lights along its surface brightened, and far away, Karash changed course toward K-47B, flying faster than he had in years. The final scene of Part 1 that night, Ilara sat in her small bunk, her satchel of tools beside her. Outside her window, the dome lights of the colony glowed faintly under the red sky. She should have been afraid. She had no idea what she was fixing, no idea who it belonged to, no idea what it could do. But she felt something she hadn't in years. Purpose. The next morning, Ilara woke earlier than usual. She barely touched her breakfast, slipping out of the small room she shared with her mother. The air inside the colony dome was thick with the smell of machinery and hot metal, but she hardly noticed. Her mind was on the strange pulse of light from yesterday and the single word that had echoed inside her head. Awake. It wasn't just a machine anymore. It was alive. Back to the wreck. The path to the far scrapyard was quiet at this hour. The sun was still low, casting long red shadows across the dome's edge. She passed the rusted skeletons of cargo haulers, shattered drones and mountains of scrap metal, When she reached her ship, she stopped. Something was different. The air felt warmer around it, and there was a faint sound, like a slow heartbeat, coming from deep inside the hull. She stepped closer, resting her palm against the smooth scales. The metal vibrated softly under her touch. "You're still here," she whispered. "Good." Inside the ship, the hatch melted open without her touching anything. She stepped into the glowing interior, her boots making soft thuds on the smooth floor. The crystal-like rods she had repaired were brighter now, glowing steady green instead of flickering. She noticed new patterns along the walls, flowing shapes, almost like wings. They pulsed gently, and she realized the light followed her. Movements. "Are you watching me?" she asked quietly. The hum deepened as if in answer. A repair. That felt different today. She decided to try something new. Instead of fixing obvious cracks, she followed a faint blue line running from the main chamber into a narrow tunnel. She crawled inside, her small frame just fitting through. The tunnel ended at a crystal sphere, the size of her head, floating inside a ring of metal. Thin arcs of energy flickered around it. It looked damaged. Its surface was dull and one side was chipped. She didn't know what it was, but it felt important. She used her smallest tool, carefully cleaning away dust and fragments. Then she patched the chipped side with a piece of smooth alloy she'd shaped herself. When she finished, the sphere pulsed with a deep golden light, so bright she had to shield her eyes. The ship reacts. The moment she crawled out of the tunnel, she froze. The walls were alive with color, blue and gold flowing together in waves. The hum had become a low, steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat she could feel in her chest. "Better?" she asked. The ship didn't speak, but a section of the wall shifted, revealing a new chamber. Inside was a single raised platform, shaped like a seat but without controls. She climbed onto it. Instantly, a faint shimmer passed over her skin, and images flashed in her mind. Stars, vast space, and a silhouette of something massive with outstretched wings. She gasped. "Is that you?" The image faded, but she knew the answer. Far away. Karash light years away, Karash pushed his small craft harder than it was built to go. His body ached from old battle wounds, and every movement reminded him of how much time he'd spent drifting alone. But now the signal was clear, stronger than it had been in decades. The Soulfire, his clan's last living starship, was alive. Again. And someone had done what his best engineers could not. His claws tightened on the controls. Whoever it was, he needed to meet them. And if they were a threat, he would deal with them. Back on K-47B, Trouble Alara's work wasn't as secret as she thought. That evening, while sneaking out of the scrapyard, she spotted Merrick, one of the colony's older scavengers, watching her from behind a pile of broken drones. He had a grin that made her stomach twist. "What have you been hiding, little rat?" he asked, stepping closer. "Nothing," she said quickly, trying to walk past. Merrick blocked her path. "You've been sneaking to the far edge every day. Found yourself something shiny?" She said nothing. If he told the security office, they'd take the ship away. Merrick smirked. "Don't worry. I'll just take a look tomorrow. If it's worth credits, maybe I'll cut you in." Her fists clenched, but she forced herself to keep walking. She had to finish repairs before anyone else saw. The ship protects. The next morning, she returned to the wreck and found something new, a faint shimmering barrier around it. She reached out, expecting resistance, but her hand passed through easily. When she looked back, she noticed the barrier was only transparent for her. Outside, it shimmered like heat haze. The ship had hidden itself. "Thanks," she whispered, smiling faintly. The core repairs. That day she found what she guessed was the main power conduit, a thick line of crystalline tubes running deep into the ship's heart. Several were cracked, leaking faint streams of golden light. She worked for hours, carefully sealing them with melted glass and small clamps she'd shaped from old ship plating. Each time she fixed a tube, the hum grew louder and steadier. When the last one was sealed, the ship gave a low, resonant tone that made the air itself vibrate. The lights along the walls formed patterns, two great wings stretching wide. She didn't know why, but she felt a strange pride. First connection. When she touched the central crystal sphere again, her vision blurred. She saw flashes, not clear images, but feelings. A roaring wind between stars. The taste of iron. The sound of something vast, alive and ancient, and a single thought, warm and heavy in her mind. Friend. She swallowed hard. Yeah, she whispered. Friend. Far away. The hunter. Close as Karash's craft dropped, out of faster-than-light travel. The red sun of K-47B glowed in the distance. The signal from the soul fire was now almost overwhelming. He could feel the ship's presence in his bones. But there was something else. Another life form inside. Small. Human. His claws tapped against the control panel. This could be dangerous. Humans were unpredictable. But this human had done what his people could not. The ship tests. Her that night, as Ilara was about to leave, the ship's AI finally spoke again. Not in words, but in a request she could feel in her mind. It guided her to a sealed section she hadn't been able to open before. This time, the walls shifted for her, revealing a complex network of controls, levers, and crystal nodes. The AI showed her, through quick mental images, how to connect certain parts, adjust the balance of energy flow, and reroute damaged circuits. It was like being taught by someone who didn't speak her language but could still make her understand. When she finished, a low warmth spread through her chest. The ship was grateful. The last scene. Part 2. Ending as she stepped outside under the red sky, she noticed a faint streak of light high above the dome. Moving fast. It was too fast for a freighter, too controlled for debris. She frowned, not knowing that Karash's craft had just entered K-47B's orbit. Inside his ship, Karash leaned forward, his golden eyes narrowing. The soul fire was below, alive again, and the human child who had touched its heart. Tomorrow, he would meet her. The night passed quietly inside the colony dome, but above the red planet, Karash watched from his orbiting craft. Through his sensors, he could see the faint heat signature of the soul fire, his ship, hiding at the far edge of the human scrapyard. The readings confirmed what he already knew. It was alive again, its heart pulsing with strong energy. And inside that pulse, he detected a human life form, small, young. He didn't know why the soul fire had allowed this human in, but that was something he intended to learn soon. Ilara's uneasy. Morning Ilara woke with a strange tightness in her chest. It wasn't fear exactly, but a heavy feeling, like something important was about to happen. She dressed quickly, grabbed her tool satchel, and slipped out before her mother noticed. The streets inside the dome were quiet except for the distant hum of generators and the occasional hiss of air vents. When she reached the scrapyard, the shimmering barrier was still there, hiding the alien ship from any wandering eyes. She stepped through and felt the familiar warmth of the hull. "Morning," she whispered, running her hand over the smooth scales. The ship responded with a low hum, almost like a purr. Trouble from Merrick. She didn't notice Merrick watching her from a distance. The older scavenger had followed her again, careful to stay far enough back that she wouldn't see him. He saw her walk to an empty stretch of scrap and then vanish into thin air. His eyes narrowed. "So that's your little secret, kid." He turned away, already planning how much he could sell the news for. Inside the Soulfire today, Alara didn't try to fix anything right away. She simply sat on the smooth platform in the central chamber, closing her eyes. She felt connected, here. The ship's steady hum was like a heartbeat she could lean against. She didn't know how or why, but she could sense when something inside the vessel needed attention. Images flickered in her mind. Wings of light spread wide against a field of stars, and a deep voice rumbling in a language she didn't understand. She opened her eyes slowly. "You really are alive." The hum deepened in response. Karash descends far above. Karash's craft entered the atmosphere, cloaked against human sensors. The red haze of the planet's sky swirled past his viewports. He wasn't here to make contact with humans. He was here for the Soulfire. But if this human child had somehow bonded with the ship, then removing her might be difficult. He decided to watch first. Patrol suspicion. Back in the colony dome, the security office had picked up an odd reading near the scrapyard. Brief, faint energy spikes that didn't match any registered machinery. Chief of Patrol Soren frowned at the data. "Could be a faulty sensor, or someone running illegal tech out there." "Want me to check it out?" asked one of his officers. Soren nodded. "Take a patrol drone. See if anything's moving around." The ship warns. Her Alara was crouched beside a cluster of glowing crystals when the hum inside the ship changed. Sharper, more urgent. "What's wrong?" she asked. A faint image appeared in her mind. A small flying machine approaching fast. "A patrol drone," she whispered. Her stomach tightened. If the patrol found this place, they'd take the ship away. She grabbed her tools, ready to hide outside, but the ship shifted its outer plating, blending more seamlessly into the surrounding scrap. The drone search. The small patrol drone hovered near the scrapyard's edge, its sensors sweeping for heat and energy signatures. Inside his cloaked craft, Karash watched through his own scanners. The humans were sniffing too close. He tapped a control, sending a low-frequency pulse toward the drone. Its sensors flickered, and it drifted away as if losing interest. Face in the shadows. When Alara stepped outside to check if the drone was gone, she saw something. Movement at the top of a pile of scrap. A tall figure stood there, silhouetted against the red sky, broad-shouldered, with faint glints of gold along its armor. Two piercing golden eyes fixed on her. She froze. The figure leapt down with surprising grace for its size, landing several meters away. It was not human. Its body was covered in dark armor that seemed part of its skin, and curved horns swept back. "From its head, I am Karash," it said, its voice deep and resonant. "You are the one." First words, Alara's hands tightened around her satchel. "Who are you? What do you want?" His gaze swept over her, small, pale, human, holding tools too advanced for her age. "You touched the heart of my ship. You brought it back from death." Her eyes widened. "It's your ship?" "Yes. The Soulfire is mine. And you?" He stepped closer. "How did you do it?" "I just fixed what was broken," she said quickly. "That's all." Karash tilted his head, studying her. "My people could not." "You could." A clash of wills. Alara stepped in front of the hatch. "If you're here to take it away, you can't. I've been working on it for days. It's not finished yet." Karash's eyes narrowed. "It belongs to my clan." "And it let me in," she said firmly. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Karash's gaze softened, slightly. "Perhaps it chose you, an unwanted." Witness neither of them noticed Merrick creeping closer, his eyes wide at the sight of the alien. He slowly raised a small comm device, recording every second. He didn't care about the girl anymore. He cared about the credits this would bring. The ship intervenes. The Soulfire seemed to sense the danger. Panels along its side glowed faintly, and a wave of heat shimmered through the air, making Merrick stumble back. His comm device crackled and went dead. He swore under his breath and ran. Karash turned toward the movement but didn't follow. "Your colony will know soon," he said to Alara. "They can't take it," she replied quickly. "Help me finish fixing it before they try." Uneasy agreement, Karash studied her for a long moment. Finally, he nodded once. "Very well. But you work under my guidance now. The Soulfire is not just a ship. It is the last living vessel of my people. If you harm it, I won't," she interrupted. A faint flicker passed over his expression, something almost like respect. Part 3, Ending. They stepped inside the ship together, the hatch melting closed behind them. Outside, the patrol drone returned, scanning the area once more. This time, it picked up nothing. But in the colony's security office, Chief Soren watched the faint energy readings spike and fade on his monitor. He frowned, leaning closer. Something was out there. And tomorrow he intended to find out what. The Soulfire's interior felt different with Karash walking beside her. The alien was tall enough that his horns nearly brushed the ceiling. His steps were heavy but controlled, his eyes scanning every wall and crystal formation as if making sure they were real. Alara kept glancing at him. She had never stood this close to a real alien before. His armor looked part of him, dark metal with faint gold veins that pulsed like blood. His tail, long and powerful, flicked slowly behind him as he moved. "You said it's alive," she said, breaking the silence. Karash's gaze shifted toward her. "It is not a ship in your human sense. It is a living construct, born from the bond between my people and the star spirits. We call it a dragon vessel. The Soulfire is the last of its kind." The truth about the dragons as they walked deeper. Karash spoke in short, low sentences. His people had once ruled a chain of worlds near the galactic rim, but centuries of war had reduced them to a single stronghold, a massive asteroid fortress drifting in an unstable orbit. Now that fortress was dying, cracking apart under the pull of a nearby gas giant. "The Soulfire was built to move my people to safety," he said. "But it was struck down in battle before it could fly. I searched for decades. I thought it was gone." Ilara's chest tightened. "If I can help you fix it, you can save them?" "Yes," he said simply. "But the hyperdrive core is unstable. If we try to jump now, it will tear the vessel apart." She nodded, determination flaring. "Then we fix it together." Working side by side, Karash moved with precision, his claws working surprisingly delicately as he handled glowing crystal conduits. Ilara brought her scavenger's creativity, filling cracks with melted alloys, using parts from unrelated machines when the original ones were too damaged. More than once, Karash paused, watching her patch something in a way that would make any trained engineer cringe, but each time, it worked. "You solve problems like water flowing around a stone," he said once, his voice holding the faintest hint of respect. She grinned. "Thanks, I think. Colony patrol closes in. While they worked, the colony wasn't idle. Chief Soren now had Merrick's shaky report about a giant alien in the scrapyard. The security team dismissed half of it as the ramblings of a scavenger looking for attention, until the patrol drone's corrupted footage showed a faint shimmer where the scrapyard's heat readings didn't match its visuals. "Something's hiding out there," Soren told his team. "And tomorrow, we're going in with a full patrol." The emergency. They had been working for hours when a deep vibration shook the Soulfire. Alara stumbled, catching herself against a glowing wall. "What was that?" she asked. Karash's face darkened. The core is trying to start itself. The repairs have restored more function than I expected. It thinks it's ready to fly. But it's not, she said quickly. No, he agreed. If it powers up fully before we finish, the stress will destroy it. They ran to the heart of the ship. The central crystal sphere pulsed with blinding light, threads of golden energy crackling around it. The repair race Karash barked quick instructions, pointing to different conduits. Stabilizers first, then vent the excess heat through the dorsal plates! Alara scrambled through narrow access tunnels, using her mini-welder to fuse broken lines while Karash rerouted power manually. Sweat ran down her face. The heat was intense now, like standing inside an engine. Every few seconds, the Soulfire gave a deep, shuddering growl, its way of warning them it couldn't hold back much longer. "Almost there," she shouted, a moment of understanding in the middle of the chaos. Karash's voice cut through the noise. "You are not like the humans I have fought." She glanced at him. "You've fought humans?" "Yes," he said without shame. "Long ago, your kind and mine were enemies. But you treat the Soulfire as if it were yours to protect." "It is," she said firmly. "It's my friend." Something unreadable passed through his golden eyes before he turned back to his work. Patrol arrival. Neither of them noticed the faint rumble outside, the sound of heavy colony patrol boots crunching on metal scrap. "Spread out," Chief Soren ordered. "We find whatever's causing those readings." The final push Alara crawled out from under a tangle of conduits, her arms aching. "That's the last stabilizer." Karash slammed a clawed hand onto a control plate, sending a command directly into the Soulfire systems. The golden energy around the core slowed, then settled into a steady glow. They both exhaled. "It will hold now," Karash said. "But we still need to calibrate the jump matrix." Caught in the open. The hatch opened automatically for Alara. As she stepped out to grab a part she'd left outside, she froze. Colony patrol soldiers were climbing over the scrap piles, weapons ready. Chief Soren's visor locked on her immediately. "You!" he barked. "Step away from that ship." Her stomach dropped. "It's not what you think." But Soren's gaze flicked past her as Karash stepped into view. The entire patrol raised their weapons at once. The standoff. "Hold your fire," Soren ordered, though his voice was tight. "Alien, you are trespassing on corporate property. Surrender and come with us for questioning." Karash's lips curled, revealing sharp teeth. "I do not answer to your corporations." The patrol shifted nervously. Alara stepped forward. "He's not here to hurt anyone." Soren cut her off. "Step away, girl. This is for your own safety." The ship's decision. The Soulfire sensed the threat. A low vibration rippled through the ground, and the air around the hull shimmered. Panels along its sides unfolded slightly, revealing faint glows that hinted at weapons. "Stand down," Karash told the ship quietly. The hum lowered, but the shimmer stayed. Alara's gamble. She knew they couldn't fight the patrol and finish. The repairs. And if the patrol called in reinforcements, the Soulfire would be surrounded. So she did the only thing she could think of. She stepped between Karash and the patrol, arms spread wide. "If you take him," she said loudly, "you're dooming hundreds of lives." The patrol hesitated. Soren frowned. "What are you talking about?" "His people are trapped," she said quickly. "This ship is their only way out. I've been fixing it. We're almost done. If you stop us now, they die." Soren's eyes narrowed. He didn't trust aliens, but he also wasn't the type to ignore the possibility of hundreds of deaths. "You have until tomorrow," he said finally. "Then the corporation takes control." He signaled his team to pull back, part. Before ending as the patrol left, Alara turned to Karash. "Tomorrow isn't enough time to finish everything." Karash's jaw tightened. "Then we finish before the sun rises." They stepped back inside the Soulfire, the hatch sealing behind them. Outside, the red sky darkened toward night, but inside the ship, golden light flared brighter than ever. Night had fallen on the scrapyard, but there was no rest inside the soul fire. Alara's hands were black with grease and glowing dust from the crystal cores. Karash worked beside her, his claws moving faster than she thought possible, plugging conduits, ceiling fractures, and aligning strange, floating glyphs on the walls. The golden light inside the ship pulsed in rhythm with their movements, almost like the soul fire was breathing with them. "How much longer?" Alara asked, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Not long," Karash said. "When the first light touches the horizon, the patrol will return. By then, we must be gone." Pushing to the limit, Alara's muscles burned every time she thought. They had done enough. Karash would find another unstable junction or a cracked energy plate. "We skip this, right?" she asked at one point, pointing to a half-broken stabilizer. Karash shook his head. "If we skip it, the jump will fail. A single weakness will destroy us all," so she kept going. She held components in place while Karash welded with bursts of golden flame from his gauntlet. She crawled into narrow tunnels that even Karash couldn't fit into, reconnecting wiring that buzzed and shocked her fingers. The soul fire was alive, and it knew they were racing against time. It hummed louder, sending faint pulses of light to guide her hands toward the right connections. Outside the scrap piles, beyond the ship, the scrapyard was quiet. But in the shadows, Chief Soren's patrol was watching. They had left earlier, but Soren had doubled back with a smaller team, deciding not to trust the alien or the strange human girl. From their hiding place, they could see faint glows coming from deep within the piles of wreckage. "What do you think they're doing?" a soldier whispered. Soren's visor reflected the light. "Finishing something dangerous." The core awakens at the heart of the soul fire. The crystal sphere rose slightly from its cradle, suspended in the air by invisible force. It spun slowly, threads of golden fire weaving around it. "It's ready," Karash said at last. Alara stared in awe. "So, we can leave now?" He nodded. "Almost, but we must bring the navigation matrix online. Without it, we cannot reach my people." The navigation matrix. They entered a wide chamber filled with floating shards of crystal, each glowing faintly. When Karash stepped inside, the shards moved, slowly orbiting him. He gestured for Alara to follow. The matrix listens to more, then commands. It listens to intent. "I will set the destination, but you must stabilize the focus." Alara stepped forward. The moment she did, the crystals brightened, as if recognizing her. She felt warmth spread through her chest. She didn't know exactly how she did it, but she thought about holding the soul fire steady, like keeping a kite from swaying in the wind. The crystals responded, locking into a smooth pattern. Karash gave a sharp nod. "You have the touch. The ship trusts you." Patrol moves. In outside, Soren finally made his move. "On my mark, we rush in," he told his team. "Disable the alien. Secure the ship." The soldiers began climbing over the piles, moving silently toward the glowing hull. The warning. The soul fire must have sensed them. A sharp pulse ran through the floor beneath Alara's feet. Karash stiffened. "They're coming." Alara's heart raced. "We can't fight them off." "We don't need to," Karash said. "We need to launch. Now." The final problem. They raced back to the core chamber, only for Karash to stop dead. The main power conduit, one of the largest, thickest lines in the ship, was cracked. Without it, the soul fire couldn't channel enough energy to jump. Alara's stomach dropped. "We don't have another one that big." Karash looked at her. "We make one." The desperate fix Alara thought fast. She grabbed a bundle of smaller conduits from a storage rack, cutting them to length. Working side by side, they fused them together into a rough replacement, weaving the glowing threads like a giant cable. Sparks burned her arms. The heat made her dizzy, but when they slammed the makeshift conduit into place, the soul fire roared, an actual deep metallic roar that shook the walls. The attack shouts echoed through the scrapyard. The patrol had reached the soul fire. "Open this hatch!" Soren's voice boomed. "By order of—" A flash of golden light cut him off as the soul fire deployed a shimmering energy barrier around its hull. Karash grabbed Alara's shoulder. "Now!" The launch. The soul fire lifted off the ground, scattering scrap in all directions. Patrol soldiers dove for cover as the ship rose higher, the golden light brightening until it was blinding. Inside, Ilara felt her feet leave the floor. As gravity shifted, "Hold on!" Karash warned. The ship surged upward. The scrapyard, the colony dome, the dusty red planet all fell away beneath them. The jump golden light filled the core chamber. The crystal sphere spun faster, threads of energy whipping around it. Ilara held the navigation focus in her mind, picturing safety, picturing a place where Karash's people waited. Karash stood with his hands on the control plate, his voice low and steady as he gave the jump command. The soul fire screamed, not in pain, but in power, and reality stretched. Stars became streaks. The air felt heavy and thin, and then, with a sound like a great exhale, they were somewhere else. The Dragon Refuge, they emerged above a vast asteroid fortress. Enormous spires rose from its surface, glowing with faint gold. Small ships swarmed like insects and huge reptilian. Figures moved across open platforms, their wings folding neatly against their backs. Ilara's jaw dropped. "Are those my people?" Karash said softly. There was pride and relief in his voice. The welcome. They descended to a wide landing platform. Dozens of Karash's kind gathered, their eyes wide as they saw the soul fire. An older dragon being stepped forward. "Karash, you found it." Karash inclined his head. "I did not find it alone." He stepped aside, revealing Ilara. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A place to belong, the older being looked down at her. "A human child? She repaired the soul fire when I could not," Karash said. "Without her, none of this would be possible." The elder's gaze softened. "Then she is no stranger here. She is welcome among us." For a moment, Ilara couldn't speak. No one had called her welcome anywhere in a long time. The ship's gift. That night, as the dragons celebrated, Ilara wandered back into the soul fire. The golden light inside seemed warmer now. A faint voice, not in words but in feeling, flowed through her mind. Gratitude, friendship, belonging. She smiled and placed her hand on the glowing wall. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. Final lines above the asteroid fortress. The soul fire rested in peace for the first time in centuries. But deep in its core, the golden light never dimmed, because it knew that one day it would fly again. And when it did, the girl who had saved it would be there, ready to guide it through the stars.